also. And I saw some information on X about Dr. Kirk Moore and his story, and I thought, wow, I got to get this guy on. So I'm going to bring him on now. Doc, how you doing? Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Todd.
So tell people who you are and what your story is. Give us the elevator pitch there, please.
So I'm a plastic surgeon actually in Utah. Been here 20 years. Been in practice for 25. COVID kind of woke my eyes, woke me up. Originally, I thought that it was everything that they said that it was. I shut my office down early. I'm raising 2 kids by myself. So I was just kind of like, okay, I gotta protect them, protect us, do what I can. Within, I don't know, 24 hours of me shutting down my office, I had done a 180 and just realized this is all one big fake scam.
Wow. What turned you on to that? I mean, how did you figure it out so early?
It was actually St. Patty's Day, 2020. Mm-hmm. And maybe it was drinking the green beer. I don't know. Look, I'm skeptical in the first place. I'm one of these people that looks at things and just kind of looks at them with a skeptic eye, with a little bit of discernment. I have a little common sense. I've been, this was an aside, didn't come into play later, but I've been anti-vaccine since, and not anti, I've just been a little skeptical of vaccines since 1989. My daughter had been on a prior kind of slow vaccination program, and then my son didn't get any. So I was just, this is 2004 through 2010. So when 2020 comes around and, and all this, but the stuff for me early on in COVID was just all of, everybody bombarding everything, and I realized that if everybody is saying the same thing, that there's something wrong. When you have countries all over the world that are doing the exact same thing and going in lockstep, and that's an interesting term, right? Mm-hmm. Going in lockstep with each other, that raised a flag for me. And then from the medical side of it, when everybody's saying there's no treatment for anything, we'll just go home and until you're almost dead, then come into the hospital and then we'll kill you. Then that to me was, the first red flag, obviously. Not, that was the big red flag to me. So when there's no early treatment and they're not claiming they can have any, just give them Tylenol, give them some Advil, give them some Flumidine, do something, don't intervene in some capacity, make it, I don't say make it look like we're doing something, but make the people feel like we're actually care about them and do something for them. So that was, to me, was the first thing that kind of was just blaring, hey, we got, we can't do anything for you.
Something's wrong. Yeah. They push too hard. I mean, that's what woke me up. Part of it too, is you're right. I mean, if everybody's really pushing you to get this, you probably shouldn't get it. I mean, there's probably something wrong with it. I got COVID really bad, and I had someone got me some hydrochloroquine, thank God, and it helped me get through it. But I went into the VA, and they are like, they were angry at me, like I did something wrong in there. I got
contaminating everybody else that's in there.
Yeah, I'm a bad person and all this. So, so what happened? Tell us the rest of your story. The government doesn't like you. They're coming after you, right?
Yeah. So, I treated people, and I treated everybody, from my house, from my front yard, from my cell phone, from my office, everybody, and treated everybody for free. Was writing prescriptions for ivermectin, prescriptions for hydroxychloroquine. Mm-hmm. I was very inspired by the Supreme Court kind of, the docs on the Supreme Court, Stella Emanuel kind of just really left an impression on me. Mm-hmm. And then, late 2020 comes around and, hey, we're not going to get back to normal until everybody has a shot in their arm. And like I said, skeptical to begin with vaccines, now all of a sudden they're just it's a one size, fits all treatment. So I eventually opened up a vaccine clinic in May-ish of 21. The vaccine launch was a scam to me. We haven't had a vaccine for cancer in 100 years. We haven't been able to find a vaccine for AIDS in 40. And then all of a sudden we're going to have something in 9 months. And then you look back and you look through all the data and science and all the stuff that was coming out. They had started this thing 5 years ahead of time or more.
Right.
And we're using a technology that has killed all the animals and never been humanly tested. And the immediate data was when I saw 700 people reported to VAERS that had died from the COVID vaccine, just in January of 21 alone, 19,000 complications that were listed. I was just like, this, what are we doing? And so then, you start just going down all these rabbit holes. And so kids are, getting out of school. They're looking at, oh, hey, what are we going to do next year? Well, we're not going to let kids go back to school unless they've been vaccinated, having parents just in a total panic. And so I opened up a vaccine clinic, and I offered kind of full informed consent. I offered to discuss the, pros and cons and the options with them. And everybody, kind of had, like I said, full knowledge, and didn't deceive anybody, didn't do anything against anybody's will. And just started treating people according to my oath as a physician, to first do no harm.
So they charged you, right, in 23?
So in January 23, about 11 federal officers showed up in my office, all lined up down the steps to the first floor. 5 or 6 of them in my, in my lobby, confiscated our phones. And we didn't know anything was going on. I guess that day, it turns out later you can look back on the dates, but I guess that day was the day that our grand jury indictment had been unsealed. About a week later, via the news, I find out that I've been indicted. And then a week or so, 10 days after that, I'm in court on an arraignment hearing. I never got served. I never got arrested. It was, kind of the really weirdest, more surreal experience that I've had. So,
have you had any kind of anti-reaction? Has the new administration helped you at all, or contacted you, or anything?
No.
Wow.
So we applied. We submitted our case for kind of political persecution, the ramifications of this prosecution from a political perspective, to the weaponization work group, which was something that Pam Bondi put in place probably the day she was sworn in, or the day after. They took on our case, and then about 2 or 3 weeks ago, they just came back and said, sorry, we're not going to take it up.
Wow. So are you, well, let me just break right there. Do you have a defense fund or anything where people can help you? Or
So we do. We have a Give, Send, Go that my family set up. My girlfriend at the time, fiance now, set up for our account. We've collected 120, 130 grand. I'm 600 grand in the hole from everything.
What's the name of that Give, Send, Go?
So it's Give, Send, Go, stand for more, and the number 4. So stand, and then the number 4, and then MOORE.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think about Kennedy allowing continued fast track of some version of the mRNA?
I mean, doesn't that go against everything that he said he was going to do?
Yeah.
He's campaigning as president, as a presidential candidate, saying that he's going to require placebo-controlled randomized studies to evaluate safety and efficacy. And then he fast tracks, a new mRNA. Actually, I think 2 of them now. One for the flu, and then this next spike, without any studies, and with a significant side effect profile that has been disclosed by, Moderna to our government. There's nothing about any of this mRNA stuff that should be anywhere near the market right now, and should be anywhere near being injected in any human being, much less animals.
My thought is that they need this technology, and we're guinea pigs, and this is a huge multiple clinical trials without informed consent. They need this for something. It's DOD. It's something in the background is really pushing this, and that's why people get, changed once they get in office.
I mean, look, there's no doubt that this is a bioweapon. Okay.
Yeah.
And depending on whether you believe that this is the 2030 agenda is a depopulation agenda or not, and whether they're trying to kill off humanity so that they get down to 500,000 or 1 million people, or 500 million to a billion people, whatever the number is. Whether you believe that or not is irrelevant. what they're doing. You take each one of these things that they're doing and put them in play, even without kind of trying to interlink one to the other. Just the fact that they're continuing to inject the human race with a product that has never been tested and never been proven to be efficacious or safe or effective in any capacity is just astounding to me.
And it changes your body,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
mean, it's fertility. I mean, go down the list, right?
Yeah. Well, they knew the fertility issue right from the get-go. The Japanese study in 2019, 2020 showed where the
Mhm.
went, and it was primarily collected in the testicles of men and the ovaries of women. Okay,
Mhm.
so what does that tell you? I mean,
Yeah.
did it tell you that they target it? I don't know, right? I mean, I don't have the science or data behind it, but it certainly tells you where it's going.
Yeah.
Um,
The result, the
right.
consequence. Yeah.
And, fertility numbers and live births are down, what, 20%, 30% worldwide right now? So what do they think is going to happen?
Yeah. How do we fix, all of that aside, let's say we can find a way forward. How do we fix the image of the medical profession? I mean, it's been damaged severely, right?
Um, Boy, Todd, I don't know that it can be fixed.
Yeah.
I think that it has to be blown up and it has to be and people have to start over. I don't know that you can build trust when you know that your doctors are injecting a product that has never been safely tested. When you
Mhm.
know that your pediatricians are forcing you and forcing your kids to get a shot that even if a normal person, if a normal person were to look at the ingredients and say, hey, we're injecting foreign DNA, we're injecting aluminum, we're injecting potentially thimerosal. They say that it's not there, but it probably is. We're injecting formaldehyde, and potential lab-grown SV40, DNA fragments, and all of this stuff.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
We recommend you take this moment to do what we're about to do, which is enjoy an Alp.
I mean, it doesn't come out and say that, but it does say that we are injecting polyethylene glycol, which is antifreeze. It says that in all of them. So, I mean, if you actually look at it and you objectively kind of take a step back and say, hey, look at this list of ingredients, then you're not going to allow anybody to inject that into you. So, and the struggle from the inside of, the medical profession, and I think Dr. McCullough has been on and talked about from a psychological perspective, I don't know how physicians are going to be able to kind of admit that they've injected and killed or potentially killed or inserted a ticking time bomb into people, especially when you talk about mRNA.
Yeah.
But if you take it to the whole global vaccine issue, it's been going on for, since the 1950s with polio.
Yes.
And started up in the early 1960s with the MMR vaccine. I don't know how old you are, Todd, but I'm 60 and
We're the same
I had
age.
3 vaccines. I had polio, I had a smallpox vaccine, I didn't have MMR, and I think I had a tetanus shot at some point when I was younger. That's it.
Yeah.
And I'm never getting anything else again.
Yeah, especially grandchildren. I got to have that conversation with my kids at some point. What's going on in your case? Anything people need to know?
So we have trial scheduled for July 7th, and as far as we know, we're going to trial. We've had multiple continuances. We've lost our ability to present a necessity defense. The prosecution filed a motion to to prevent us from saying so basically, I can't bring in people that are vaccine injured or people or docs that agree with what it is that we did and present it in the light that, hey, we did the best that we could and we actually didn't harm people. And we actually, if anything, harmed them less by, the actions that we undertook. So I'm not allowed to do that. I am allowed to present, the case, the charges are fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, counterfeiting, and destruction of government property. So fraud, which are the 2 major ones, require intent. Okay. So they have to prove that my intent was to take $28,000 worth of government product that they gave me and, abscond it, to purloin it. And these are fancy words that are in my indictment. Okay. But basically misuse it on purpose with the intent to defraud the government of that. Now, it's an interesting.
This was the vaccines, is what they're talking about.
Yeah. So it's interesting is they, one, they've probably spent $2-3 million, prosecuting me over a $28,000 issue. Okay. So that should tell you something. And that this isn't about, finances. This isn't about anything other than just proving a point and wanting to win and wanting to show other physicians, hey, if you do this, this is what's going to happen to you.
Yes.
And that's essentially what they're doing. I lost my train of thought. Sorry, Todd.
No, talk about your case. And
yeah. And, so what were they, anyway, it's just they added a charge in January for destruction of government property, because they said that after I was indicted, I told my office manager to throw away the product if we left. One, that's false. I didn't know that we had the product. I didn't know that we even had any. The last time we'd ordered some, I think, was in the summer of 21. I assume that was fine. I really didn't know what my office manager or staff was doing with the product in the office anyway. So it's that's kind of a moot point, but that adds a significant, jail time, I guess. Destruction of government property, especially trying to do it after you're indicted, I guess carries a pretty stiff penalty.
Well, they're definitely making an example. Any hope of getting accountability to some of these people who are doing this kind of thing? Do you see
gosh, Todd, if I had seen, the administration kind of at least take some sort of look at what it is that's going on, I'd have seen somebody in this, Make America Healthy Again movement actually admit to the fact that vaccines might be contributing. They don't have to say that they are, but to even accept the fact that, hey, this might be what's going on, or at least contributing to the chronic health and chronic illness problem that we have in our society, both our kids and adults, all up and down the spectrum.
Right.
But they won't even admit it. The Cali, I call them the Cali twins. They're not twins. Cali siblings, wrote a book called Good Earth and never even mentioned vaccines in their book. I don't think at all. They certainly didn't put together anything that has any, measure of accountability from the standpoint of what could be causing, our health problems. I have no doubt in my mind that we are poisoning society. We are poisoning our kids with these, quote, well baby, unquote, checks. They're not well baby checks. Your baby would be perfectly well if he never sees a pediatrician. Up and down the spectrum.
Especially not 72 of them.
Yeah, 72 to 90 to 92, depending on, what they're going to get. And now it's like you're getting you're getting 3 COVID shots before you're 9 months old, and then you get one every year. So how many is that adding before you're 18? That adds, 18 plus 3, it adds 21 vaccines to the schedule alone. So it's, and the cumulative effect, not one of these vaccines has ever been randomized, controlled, randomized placebo controlled. The most recent one was that, the quadrivalent thing was tested against a previous version of the vaccine, which had been tested against a previous version of that vaccine, which had been tested against a previous version. Never in the 4 generations going down has it been tested against a placebo, trial. So it's, the fraud and deceit and, the money that's behind it. You just, Big Pharma owns everything, I call them Big Pharma, they own everything. They control the media. They spend 70% of the media income comes from pharmacy. 50% of the FDA budget, or HHS budget, comes from pharmacy. Probably FDA, not HHS, but or CDC. They have, they're the number one lobbyist firm or industry in all of Washington D.C. So they control our they control our politics, they control the media, and they control the medicines that are put out there. So I mean,
so Kennedy made I know RFK well. He's actually our attorney on a suit against the Trusted News Initiative, because we got deplatformed years ago and harmed ourselves. But he said that he's going to have placebo trials for all this. Is that not happening?
It hasn't happened. He's approved. I mean, he hasn't, but the FDA has approved, and he's the Secretary of HHS, right? He oversees the FDA. Martin Curry has approved 2 mRNAs, basically along the lines of what the Biden administration did in 2022, 2023. They met all the criteria for the 23 Biden administration requirements. And then when it came time for the final approval, they let it go. Yeah. Look, the interesting thing with RFK is, on his personal profile, he came out and called me a hero and said that I deserve to be treated better, something along those lines. Mm-hmm. Okay. On his, he hasn't done that on his professional profile. I don't care. But it's just a struggle for me. He is the only person in our government, as the Secretary of HHS, that can make a single change without even ever mentioning COVID, without mentioning mRNA, without mentioning vaccines. That's it. All he has to do is do a one-line rescind the state of emergency, which then takes away all of the EUA, all of the PrEP Act, protections that Big Pharma has right now. That's it. He doesn't, like I said, he doesn't have to mention anything. Just take away the state of emergency. Their liability goes away. Those vaccines will get taken off the market in a matter of 24 hours, because they're not going to want to expose themselves to that liability. They know what it is. Yeah. I said earlier, 700 people died in the month of January, according to VAERS. And, that's anywhere from only 1 to, 10% of what is actually reported. So anywhere from, 7,000 to 70,000 people, depending on what numbers you want to look at. So it's crazy where we are right now in our society. And, and to me, it's a simple one-liner. And if you're going to live up to your, to what people expected you to do, it would be really nice. And, look, RFK has done tremendous work. I mean, in your case, and all through his career. So it's surprising to me that he didn't come in like a bull in a china shop and just do this kind of stuff, because, it is what it is. He knows what the truth is. Just expose it.
Well, I think there's obviously some pressures being applied in different manners. Who knows what that is? But we see the same thing in the FBI with Cash and Bongino and all of that. I mean, people change. People change once they get in office.
I know.
Hey, man, anything else? How do people follow you? How do people help you? I mean, besides donating, what's the Give Send Go again, please?
So it's Give Send Go / Stand for More with a number 4, MOORE. And I'm on, I'm on X. It's just me at Moore 22K. So at MOORE 22K. The reason it's kind of a weird number weird name is because I got canceled back in 2020 at least 2 or 3 times. So changing my name.
We've been through that. We actually, weirdly enough, we got one of our Twitter accounts back. We lost 8. Like 25 accounts in different platforms in 21, but we got one of them back 5 years later. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Anyway. So any help would be great. Like I said, we spent $750,000 on our legal defense, and now it's just going to get expensive. Trial is the most expensive part. I have to hire experts, and bring them in to try to fight this. So.
Well, stay in touch with us. We'd like to help down the road. If you need press on something or whatever, just give us a shout.
Well, Todd, thanks for having me on. Sorry I kind of joined there at the last minute. I appreciate you just kind of.
Oh, it's all good. Thank you for reaching or commenting back to us on X, and we got in touch. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.